What's good? It's your boy Tad Money, and today I'm gonna talk about Asian American folk sorcery. We mainly deal with Asia, Eastern Asia, Southeast Asia, mainly where Asians, American, Korean, Japanese, Thailand, Laos, and many other, particularly those type of Asian countries, if you know what I mean. But Asian American folk sorcery deals with the folk traditions and folk magic of Eastern Asia. So you know what I'm saying. So when it comes to like Japan, you got Shinto. When it comes to China, you got Daoism. In Korea, it's Korean shamanism. And when it comes to Southeast Asia, you know what I'm saying, they was ruled by Hindus and stuff, people who practice Hinduism. So they worship, and they used to worship many of their gods back in the golden age of Hinduism in Southeast Asia. You know, but also they practice shamanism too, folk shamanism in Southeast Asia, but also they was conquered by the Hindus and stuff, man, you know, whole nine yards. But when it comes to Asian American folk sorcery, it mainly deals with, you know, Daoism, Shinto, and all their occult practices and Eastern philosophies as well, and doctrines and things in that nature. So when it comes to Asian American folk sorcery, you can definitely see it in the video games. You know what I'm saying? Any video game that's based upon, you know, soul-like or Fantasyland-like games that deals with all types of folklore in it. You know what I'm saying, including Final Fantasy as well. So when it comes to Asian American folk sorcery, you can see it in the particular games in Final Fantasy, Monster Hunter, you know, many games that deal with soul lights and stuff like that. And also European games that based upon that as well, that shows the folklore of that. Like the game God of War and stuff. But Asian American folk sorcery, back on topic, deals with a lot of practices of Hinduism, Daoism, Shinto, Confucianism, and also Buddhism. You know what I'm saying? So it's a mixture of a lot within Asian American folk sorcery and the type of practices that they practice within their craft. Now, Daoism is Chinese folk religion. Shinto is Japanese folk religion, and they have many deities and many gods and goddesses in the folklore behind their creation and things like that. And then you got Indonesia and Southeast Asia that were ruled by the Hindus and stuff in the Hindu kingdom over trades and things like that. And then also, including the Hindu gods, 1,000 of them, you know, Southeast Asia was worshiping some of them as well, or most of them. But then Buddhism came and kind of reshaped everything within Southeast Asia. So when it comes to Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, Daoism, and Shinto, with all within the circle of Asia, of Eastern Asia, occultism. You know what I'm saying? Their literature and their doctrines and everything about their religion, but they never threw it away. They still practice it to the day. It's just that communism had taken over some parts of Asia to the point to where it's extreme and stuff. So that's one thing when I heard about communism. But you know, Asian American folk sorcery, I'm particularly talking about Asian Americans that live here, you know, that practice their native magic and stuff and brought it here and practice here. It's a good way to survive here in America. I remember back in the days of COVID, you know, people was targeting Asian Americans and stuff because of what was going on and stuff. At the same time, I think that was like quote unquote fake news. I don't know exactly about the whole story, but you know, to continue on, what I gotta say is that when it comes to Asian American folk sorcery, this is a way to protect themselves from any harm from anybody in any circumstances. When it comes down to their form of magic, because their form of magic is potent and powerful. Definitely, if you mix with the Hinduism, Taoism, and Shintoism, and also Korean shamanism and stuff like that, even Southeast Asia Hinduism, I mean. But, you know, Asian American folk sorcery is really powerful sorcery, you know what I mean? So, and that's one thing about it's Eastern occultism and Eastern way of life, you know what I mean? So when it comes to Chinese folk magic, Japanese folk magic, it's very powerful magic. Korean shamanism, Southeast Asia shamanism, and also Hinduism, and so on and so forth. So that's one thing I want to say. So I hope you get a glimpse of what I mean by Asian American folk sorcery is that they got, you know, it's hard for me to pronounce the word that they have for their kind of magic, but you can find it on YouTube if you just type in Asian American, not Asian American, but you know, Chinese folk religion, Japanese folk religion. It will show videos of what magic that they practice and everything like that. But also, they mainly worship ancestors too. They're all about ancestor veneration. That's one thing. When it comes to Africa and Asia, they always pay respect to their ancestors, always acknowledge the ancestors. The same thing with Europeans as well, and many other people alike, you know, so on and so forth. So Asian American folk sorcery is mainly for Asians, just like how Mexican American brujeria is for Latin or Hispanic people. And that's what these. This is your boy Tab Money, man. I hope you get what I'm saying. So be on the lookout for the videos and stay tuned.